Mountain God needs no donations, only worship please. Chapter 48. Fan Fiction by Azazyel. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel for listening and patreon.com/Azazyel to read all of his stories. I sat at the head of the table and no longer were the ladies of Gensokyo being their cheerful selves. What with how I had blown a hole through the moon, it was fairly clear why. But to also say nothing how many lives were lost during the brief attack the Lunarians performed on the earth. Also, there was the tension that was between Yukari's gaze upon me and my refusing to meet her gaze so we didn't get sucked into more bullshit. Ladies. I started us off. As we all know, the moon itself seems to have attacked the earth for reasons I myself am not entirely sure of, said with many girls nodding in understanding, so I continued. In order to stop the attack and prevent any further fighting, I blew a significant hole in the moon. I said, trying to keep a straight face, but failing as Flandrick giggled in the background at the face I was making. Finally, though, Yukari loudly tapped the table with her fingernails, making a loud clicking noise that forced me to finally meet her dark purple eyes that tightened on my form. You ruined Gensokyo, she said simply, and I raised an eyebrow as literally everyone went frozen at Yukari's words. And I think a part of the shock was the knowledge that I was fully capable of slapping her around like an unwanted red-headed stepchild if she pissed me off enough. But instead of getting into a rage, I just blinked and did the one thing that would have pissed her off more than calling her the failure with how Gensokyo fell even after I let her out of the seal I put her into. I just looked away to Patula Knowledge, the sorcerer Yukari of knowledge and magic, that part of the Scarlet Devil Mansion. Patuli, I said, calling her name and then looking to Remilia. I need you two to go to the rabbit kin of the Ientai and tell Kagaya Hurazen and Iron Yagakoro to come to my cathedral and give me reasons why the moon people would attack the earth. I said, and Remilia raised an eyebrow at my demand. Remilia wore a wry smile as she nodded. Moria, Kagaya is a sly immortal brat and she may not even have any information as they have been in exile here in Gensokyo for more than 50 years at this point. She warned, and I mentally groaned at the reminder about how they fled to Earth as exiles during the first lunar war apparently, but either way I shook my head and still looked to Remilia. And you are the person I can trust that will match her social level, and I already know she will drive me up the wall, so I hope you can at least ask while over tea or something. I offered, and Remilia smiled, filled with a bit of pride that was almost seductive on her voluptuous frame. I got the first syllables about what I was going to say next out of my mouth, but then my face twisted as I felt deep within my mountain. In the depths of old hell it felt like old hell was trying to forcefully connect with the true underworld, and already there was a connect and blurring of realms where they connected as they once did when Yukari ripped that chunk of hell to merge with Gensokyo. I woodenly turned to Yukari, who raised an eyebrow with my eyes twitching as I watched my Oni worshippers and dwarves I left to them that were growing up while checking out the area where that rivers that was converted into a series of whiskey and beer rivers were now flooding into the true underworld. Welp, the devils and fallen angels can have free booze as well. Why are you looking at me like that? Do you miss Ran already and are helpless without her? Yukari teased spitefully, while Ran, who was beside her, covered her face with sleeve to avoid the other girls looking at her. And in response, I nodded as I calmly responded. Yes indeed, I do miss Ran, and I do wish she would come back to being my champion and friend. But I thankfully have Sakuya, Tenma, and others to fill in the void she left behind. I said so diplomatically that it left her with no room to shit-talk me in any way. I tapped my fingers on the table for a minute before I looked to the Moria goddesses and spoke to them. Then I leave the task to talking to the other pantheons and giving me the news on how they react to my actions and the actions of the lunar race as a whole to you. The two goddesses Kanako Yasaka and Suwako Moria looked at one another with wry smiles as Kanako, the busty goddess of wind and rain, looked kinda scared, to be honest. Lord Moria, emissaries between pantheons never have a good time. Can you pick someone else? Maybe not a goddess who Zeus will be Zeus towards? She asked carefully, and I had to visibly take a fucking breath. Why couldn't things just be fucking simple? I screamed mentally, as I was only half mentally here as I was trying to keep old hell from fusing into the underworld. Fine, Tenma will go as she will be my representative, I said with my eye tightening on the goddess, who gulped and sank into her seat for her refusal while I looked at Tenma, who straightened up proudly under my gaze. Tenma, ride the winds you control beyond even the storm gods, and find out the news, and with the divine tools and blessings I have given you, even if Zeus or any other god attacks you, you can always just teleport back to me instantly, as you well know. I said, giving a brief glance to her sadly almost flat chest that had a pendant that had a tiny sliver of my consciousness sealed away that she could free at a moment's notice, and I could use my full power to teleport her back home in that couple moments before that consciousness broke apart. The Tengu queen bowed her head as she gracefully stood up, and she looked at the other ladies with a proud smile as she spoke. Very well, Lord Moria, I will have Momiji Inubashiri take over my post as guardian over your cathedral in the interim, she said before bowing to me and then giving Sakuya a nod of respect before she became a blur as she sped away from my cathedral while flying out the window.